What age should someone be allowed to get surgery and transition fully?
The easy answer is 16 to 18.
What, so if could a 12-year would you be comfortable with a 12-year-old getting surgery, for example, or a 14-year-old?
Something should do, but I think that if they think that they want this, then they should be allowed to have it.
Contemplating starts, so like 7 or 8 if they're like 10, 11, 12. If it's like this is a through line and it's been giving them maybe issues with mental health, like if it's like this is a recurring theme, then maybe pursue that.
Sure.
Because it's just a different form of therapy.
The feminists say you should not be allowed to use a female bathroom. So it's all very well talking about ideas, and I like that. But in terms of women, I think that's the right term, using female bathroom.
I think it's fine. I think that people can use
on which bathroom people go to. The fear very much seems to be about cisgender men dressing up as trans women.
望むのならば誰でも何にでもなれる。こんにちは皆さん。リータです。今回の動画なんですけど、ポリコレ思想に染められた大学でインタビューをしてみたという動画ですね。誰でも望むものなら何にでもなれる。男性でも女性トイレを使って全然 OK。といったとんでも理論は必見です。それでは頑張って翻訳しましたので一緒に見ていきましょう。ではどうぞ。
Yeah, so I'm non-binary and I use he, they pronouns. So I've like gone a lot with like the whole like pronoun journey.
Gender's a social construct, it doesn't exist.
I use they, them pronouns.
What does they, them mean? Again, explain to me what...
Well, I identify as non-binary, so it's not man or woman or either ends of the spectrum. It's somewhere in between or nowhere.
Back at Sussex University, one of Britain's wokest universities, to ask students questions, all things pronouns and gender related. Let's see what they have to say. What age should someone be allowed to get surgery and transition fully?
I think the easy answer is 16 to 18.
What, so if could a 12-year would you be comfortable with a 12-year-old getting surgery, for example, or a 14-year-old?
Well, it's not my place to really like get in the way of telling what a 14-year-old or something should do, but I think that if they think that they want this, then they should be allowed to have it.
But it's interesting you mentioned 16. For you, that seems like an age where underneath that you wouldn't be happy about the idea of someone if it was available to them.
Maybe. I mean, maybe like a year or two after maybe thinking about it or contemplating starts. So like 7 or 8 if they're like 10, 11, 12. If it's like this is a through line and it's been giving them maybe issues with mental health, like if it's like this is a recurring theme, then maybe pursue that.
Sure.
Because it's just a different form of therapy.
If I was to say to you how many genders are there, what would you say?
I'd say that there's definitely more than 2. I think it's a far more complicated and personal sort of like set of things than you can be easily even put to a number. Really.
Sure, okay. How many genders are there then?
An infinite amount.
Infinite amount.
Just talk to the person and find out what they feel. I think it
So what? Limitless?
a binary number, because like when you bring in things like he, they, that's just like it's more like your expression of yourself. It doesn't have to be like a number. I think that's kind of
like gender's very like
outdated.
Yeah, gender's outdated, and there's also like a lot of different like things you can put in within gender, because there's like gender like identity, expression, and then pronouns and gender doesn't have to be aligned. It's all very different. So and also the only real person who needs to know a person's gender is themselves, like because it's a very like personal thing and a very like a thing that people will express or want to keep private. So I think like there's like 2 sexes, there's like male and female.
Sure.
But gender, there's as many as people want there to be.
I have a few friends who identify with a variety of different genders. I think it's less of a sort of... It's more of an identity thing rather than any amount of how many it is. I'm sure there are many that I don't know of, and many that I do.
Sure.
So...
But there's more than 2?
Yes, I would say so. There's 2 biological sexes. I think gender is a matter of spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally believe that gender is a social construct. People can use whatever pronouns that make them feel comfortable, basically.
So as in gender and sex are 2 different things?
Yes, I believe, at least personally.
Sure, okay, fine. So how do you identify then?
I identify, I'm not really sure.
Sure, so okay, that's...
Still figuring it out.
I'm trying to get my head around the language. If you're a trans woman, so that means that you've transitioned. So you were a cis male, I think that's the language, and you're now a trans woman, and the feminists say you should not be allowed to use a female bathroom. So it's all very well talking about ideas, and I like that. But in terms of practical application in some of these areas that are more about the LGBTQ+ community, what are your thoughts as a female who identifies as a female? What do you think about trans women, I think that's the right term, using female bathroom?
I think it's fine. I think that people can use whatever bathrooms they want.
What about the feminists who say that there's a safeguarding issue there? That's what generally speaking, the feminists now are talking about safeguarding issues.
I wouldn't really call them feminists if they're like not including trans women in their agenda.
Because trans women are women?
Yes.
And is that your personal belief?
Yes.
And trans men are trans men are men?
Yeah, if they identify as that, or they might identify as like non-binary or whatever. But yeah, whatever they identify as.
That's like the purpose of the bathroom. You just walk in and anyone could be in there. It's gender neutral. It doesn't matter.
この LGBT 討論では必ず出てくる女子トイレの話ですが、僕は絶対に反対ですね。女性専用のロッカールームや女子トイレでのトランスジェンダーが関わっている性被害の件数が毎年のようにあることを彼らは知らないのでしょうか。日本にこの考え方が入ってくるとなると論点になるのは温泉でしょうか。自分の娘が利用する場所のことを考えてみるとトランスジェンダーも利用することを反対する人がほとんどではないでしょうか。解決案としてトランスジェンダーたちの権利を守っていきたいのならば彼ら専用のトイレを作るべきだと思いますがどう思いますか。
Okay, so at the other end, what if I tomorrow morning dress up as I look right now, but I get into a dress, heels, whatever, and I walk into a female bathroom? Is that okay?
I feel like this is quite like a very like complicated and loaded question to ask someone. Like, I don't really have the exact answer.
Well, just your thoughts, because that's what the feminists are saying in terms of safeguarding, is that actually there's a big problem there, but the trans community says there's no problem. So it's about getting your own opinion.
Yeah, well, I think that like, you know, trans women should obviously be allowed to go into female toilets. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's quite a hot topic.
It's a difficult question, but I think it's a completely legitimate one for people that say that there are many different genders and we should address with pronouns. So, for example, let's just say that as I look today, tomorrow I go into a female bathroom and I'm dressed in a certain way, and someone says, "Oi, mate," or "Oi, sir," you can't go in there or whatever. So it's not just about pronouns and about asking people how many genders there are. It's about the practical application. So fundamentally, in terms of the trans movement and bathrooms, is it the case that a trans woman is that the correct that they should be allowed to use female bathrooms?
They should be allowed to use women's bathrooms, yes. Sex and gender aren't inextricably linked. They aren't linked at all, really. Gender is a social construct. It doesn't exist. It's about making sure that people are safe because, you know, trans women face misogyny too. They face exponential amounts. It doesn't have any implication on which bathroom people go to. People say it's a women's safeguarding issue. I am absolutely a feminist, but you know I do not see this as a women's safeguarding issue. You do not have security guards standing at the doors to gendered toilets saying, we need to make sure you aren't trans. The fear very much seems to be about cisgender men dressing up as trans women and causing attacks.
A guy like me dresses up tomorrow morning, wake up looking at the way I do, and I put a dress on and I start going into female bathrooms because of how I identify, which obviously links to pronouns. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a really good question. I think it can be quite an easy way for a man who wants to assert some dominance, who disagrees with the whole pronoun situation, to waltz into a female bathroom with a dress on and say, I'm allowed to be here. But I think that is a small minority. Yeah, it's going to make people uncomfortable. I don't think that would affect me as much. Obviously, I don't go into women's bathrooms either as wearing a dress or as born as a woman.
On that then, right, tough question. What of that of a 6-year-old saying to mum and dad, what you're saying is that I identify or I feel as XYZ. What should the parent do? What's your advice? Nice and broad, could be anything, but they say something along those lines.
I mean, I just think listen to them, do what they choose. Like, I know there's like obviously like permanent things you can do with like transgender stuff, but maybe just support them until they're old enough that the parents like are happy for them to make permanent decisions, but until then, just listen and be open.
Yeah, definitely. Like even like from the start, like just make it a place where they feel like they can come to you with those questions, and make it a space where you're not like labeling them as like definitely a boy, definitely a girl, or like definitely gay, definitely straight. Just like make it like an inclusive place where like if they are thinking that, then you just be like, yeah, I hear you, I see you. Do you want a different pronoun, a different name? How can we support you in this? And it's like, see, because children are not ever changing, ever growing. Same with adults, like people change, people like experience different things and go, oh, actually I want to be this or this. So really just be open and like listen to them.
So a lot of times it's just like, we'll try different clothes, we'll try a different haircut, we'll see if we like it. If you really hate it, you know, there's no harm, no foul.
So obviously just good parenting 101, listen to the child, ask them how they're thinking, feeling, but equally if a child came home and said, just to be devil's advocate for the audience, if a child came home and said, I want to start drinking the bottle.
No, you say no, you're too young.
Is like, it's important to just be there for your kids rather than try and impose something on them. You can like obviously let them know how you're feeling, but respectfully be able to listen to what they are trying to express to you and like not coax anything that you want to hear back out of them.
So what would your advice be to parents where a son comes home and starts saying things like, oh, I think I might be female, or am I a woman, or whatever?
I think there's a level of exploring. Obviously you've got to be aware of age, but the parent is realistically in control until they're sort of early teens, I'd say, and then it sort of becomes an increasingly balanced relationship to a more 50-50 thing and a more independent thing for the child as they get 18. So earlier on it's sort of, okay, you feel this way, let's talk about it, but I make the final decision as the parent, and then it moves into if you want to wear a dress, that's your thing, let me support you in that.
Well, yeah, I'd say be supportive of your child and try and talk through their development, but also your child will know who they are and stuff. I think to the encouragement to be open with your growth as a person is really important. I think that, I don't know, sometimes it can be pushed down, and that can lead to some really difficult times when you're repressing who you are.
Sure. So generally speaking, if let's talk about you as the individual. If someone, so for me, you're a female, but that might offend somebody who was non-binary. Is that correct? I'm learning as I go.
Well, I present as a female and I identify as a female, so that's fine to me. Obviously, if you assume someone else's gender and they are not identifying as that gender, that would offend them. So usually I would just not assume at all.
いやー、皆さんどうでしたか？性転換によって命を救うという話が出てきてましたね。確かに性転換手術によって救われたという人がいるのは事実かもしれませんが、性転換後に自ら命を絶つ人が多いことも考慮すべきです。2015年の研究結果によれば、性転換後に自傷行為をし始めた未成年のトランスジェンダーは約 70%。他のレズビアン、ゲイ、バイセクシャルの人と比べると2倍のトランスジェンダーに自殺願望があるという結果を考えると、性転換すること自体が問題の解決にはなってないと僕は感じますね。そんな人生においての大きな決断をまだ考えが未熟な未成年にさせるのはいけないことだと思います。少数派ばかりの声を聞いて大多数の人の権利が蝕まれる。これは本末転倒していると思いますが、皆さんはどう思いますか？では現地の声いくつか紹介していきますね。What is truly scary is these students' lack of critical thinking skills. You can literally see the fear of not fitting in some of these interviews. I identify as a taxpayer, so think all universities or colleges that teach or promote this crap should be closed. Never met any of these weirdos in real life, but they're getting in my way and should be dealt with. Identifying as something is the same as pretending to be. When I was 8 years old, I pretended I was a pirate. Thank goodness my parents saw sense and didn't take me to hospital to have my legs removed and my eyes taken out. Imagine being normal and going to this university. 皆さんの考えもコメント欄で教えてくださいね。このチャンネルではマジかよっていう欧米ニュースを楽しく取り扱ってます。チャンネル登録していただけるととっても喜びますんでよろしくお願いします。では良い一日を。